Last week I decided to release Geliana Timetables, a project I have been consistently working on for slightly more than 2 years. And then I eventually decided to post it on Twitter for people to judge, as one person does, which generated quite a lot of impressions. Not viral, but it did so much to the point that it generated a surge in traffic on the website to 137 visitors, which isn't huge, but for me this was unprecedented considering it was a Sunday night during the Manchester City and Arsenal game. But as all good things, it did have to come down to 113 visitors to 16 visitors to 10 visitors and then to a single visitor, which might be me, but there's no way to tell. But it did do something else very, very important, which eventually I had to make this video to clarify on it. People didn't quite seem to understand the idea of the application, of the project. Hence, this video became important. I want to introduce what the desktop application is. And here it is. Here's the desktop application. And before we go on, it's only for Windows for now. I know all Mac users, I'm sorry. I don't have a Mac, I'm not that rich. But eventually it is in the plan. It's in the works, hopefully so, because I have built it from the ground up to be cross-platform. Hence, there will be a Mac OS version and a Linux version, hopefully, if the reception on this project is good enough for me to continue on. But back to the desktop application. First, I want to introduce the interface. The application is built to manage and optimize timetables, and you're going to wonder why there's an option to create a new timesheet. So, baby steps, first of all, and we're going to start with a new timetable for now. New timetable, you can use any timetable name here you want. Here I will write a new timetable. Sorry for the lack of creativity. You don't have to create a facility name. You can click submit. And then you will have the timetable settings. These are the default ones. The start time at 8 a.m., at the end time at 4 p.m., duration for 40 minutes, start day Monday and end day Friday. This can be configured after, so even if you do press save, you can change them later. Click save. And then you will get to this, I call this the timetable view. It is empty as per now, and if you want to add data, you can click manage, the manage tab, and you can click open data, where you can add them manually. You can add a new room manually. You can add a new instructor manually. You can add a new unit manually. You can also add a new group manually. And here are the timetable settings where you can configure these settings or change them as you want. You can also add breaks, add a break here, and you can see the timeline here. But for now, what we will do is use AI to generate the data. So we will go back to the website, scroll down to the footer, and here under services, you will click AI data generator. What this service is, you use your natural language to explain in English what your school is about. You describe your school, and this will generate an Excel file that understands your school's format. You can also click one of these here for something easy. I will pick the primary school, CBC, generate Excel file. It will take a couple of seconds, not too much. It is using Gemini in the background. And then from there, we can go back to the application, click the manage tab, click import data, and import it from where they are. I'm just going to import it quick from downloads. And here you will see this pop up. And typically when you do have warnings, you will see this label here. And when we click it, we will see row 2, invalid title teacher defaulting to TR, valid titles. Sometimes the AI might not always understand how to structure it correctly, but the application is built to automatically convert this into something meaningful. So you can click this back, and then we can say import selected. Sometimes when you do describe preferences to the AI, you can use this to convert preferences that were generated in natural language to a format that Geliana Timetables will understand. And you can click here import selected. Imported with 8 warnings. You can click this, go to manage, click open data, and here you will see them. Classroom 1 through to 6, teacher Alice through to teacher Hannah Montana. Then the units, so typically the subjects, English, mathematics, environmental activities, and the groups. And typically when you click the groups, typically you usually have to manage this yourself. You have to pick the unit you are to teach and the students you are teaching. Typically you can change this by adding a new subgroup here, but more on that later. So, and you will notice something peculiar. When you click here, nothing is here. That's because timetables are built to be very restrictive. For example, this is English taught by teacher Ali Smith. When we click to delete it, it will reappear here because you can only add a single language, a single unit at a time in timetables. In timesheets, it's a bit different. It gives you a bit more freedom. More on that later. So we will click English and we'll pick instructor. It was teacher Alice Smith, and we can click save group. We can click save group. Then the next step after groups, and this will be in the documentation, you need to go to lessons and click this update icon. It will update the lessons. Lessons are typically a combination of the group, the instructor, and the unit, and then typically how many lessons they are to take in a single week. Grade. In a future video, I will explain what these other buttons and icons do, but for now, moving on. And when you come back to the timetable view, you will notice that it is empty, but you can come click here manage and then say update sessions. So other applications, other scheduling applications call these cards, but for my application, we will call them sessions. And the typical way to handle this is when you have on top of a session, you will see the drag icon come on, and you can click it, drag it to a new cell. So this intersection between the column and the row, I call a cell, with the column being the time it takes from 1:20 p.m. to 2 p.m. and the row constitutes the day. And you can drag them anywhere and this will change those attributes. Or for something relatively easier, you can click it and say edit details, where you can also change day, the period, which is different from time. You can see them here, meaning this can be defined as periods, with this being period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5, and so on and so forth. And you'll also notice something else in person. Geliana Timetables is also built from the ground up to also manage online classes. So if you click this, it will be online, but otherwise it will be in person. And notice when I click online, it disables the room field. But when it is in person, you will have access to this. And when you click it, you will have access to different rooms. For now, I don't want to change anything. But now the next step is, how do we optimize this? And obviously, you will come here and click optimize. And you can choose from two. You can click the smart run or the run. And when you click run, you do have access to 3. This fourth one is a bit different. I will explain in a different video. Here we have 3 different algorithms, 3 different custom algorithms. I should also note here, they are open source, and I will link it in the description below. We do have constraint solver, the genetic algorithm, and the simulated annealing. Typically, when you pick each one, they will have their default values, optimization goals, default rooms, preferences, and such very technical attributes. But you don't really have to pick them. If you decide to use them, you can use the default ones. Or if you do understand what you're doing, you can tweak these settings. But otherwise, I recommend using SmartRun. SmartRun gives an agent, here we're talking about a model, an AI model, the power to pick which model, to pick which algorithm to use. And here we have a couple of settings, and we can decide the maximum iterations to reduce the number of tokens it uses, because this uses your tokens and we bill you on tokens, and time, the time it takes for an algorithm to complete. Typically when you are part of a school, or this timetable is part of a school, we'll have access to bill in a school here, but for now we will bill ourselves, the user. And then here we can pick one of these. When target is reached, is it AI's decision? Is it stop immediately or continue to maximum iterations? Remember, when target is reached, target here is 100%. Target is 100%. And we can decide when the target is reached, is it the AI's decision to continue, either to tweak some settings in the descriptions that you've given here, or stop immediately, or continue till maximum iterations, which you can pick here. And also, optimization instructions. You can describe to the agent what is your ideal, what do you want with this. And because I keep talking about target reached, you can come here and click in the optimization tab, click analyze, which will give you the overall timetable fitness. You see the number of group clashes, room clashes, instructor clashes, how many preferences were violated. Here we can see 0 of 0, which means you have no preferences, hence none can be violated. Lesson distribution. This does deserve a different video entirely to describe what it means, but it's essentially how the unit is distributed in an entire week, depending on the instructions you give in the lessons tab. More on that in a future video. And you can the analysis screen also has tabs. We have the distribution tab, lesson distributions, group tab, the room tab, and the instructor tab, with each giving an explanation of when these clashes are happening. And you will notice quite often types, regular here, because there are more complex sections. More on that later. Next, we will decide to go with a SmartRun and watch it do it live. Click Start Optimization. You will notice here we have the current score. Remember, our target score is 100%. We have the time and we have the algorithm. Here it will decide which algorithm to use. It will start the agentic optimization. Initial score is that. The agent decides which algorithm to use. And it will give you a reason why. There are 21 clashes, so the constraint solver is the most appropriate algorithm to use. And this is the only huge function of the agentic optimizer. It's to decide which algorithm to use. And it will eventually hit a score. And here it is. Sessions score turned from 54.7% to 100%. Target reached. We decided to give the AI the power to decide when to end, and the timetable has been optimized. It decides here. AI determined, optimization is complete. The current score is 100%. And we are done. This is how we get to bill you, how long it takes for the algorithm to come up with a solution, and how many tokens were used during the agentic run. And the only advantage of using the run button alone is this will only use your runtime only, which are relatively cheap. But the SmartRun will use both your AI tokens and your runtimes. So based on what you want, you can use those, based on your budget too. And that is the basic idea of Geliana Timetables. Converting data into organized sessions. And you can click here, analyze, and you can see 100% overall timetable fitness with a high health. No issues, no violating lesson distributions, no group clashes, no room clashes, and no instructor clashes. That is the basic idea. And I guess that's for it. If you do want more, please comment. Please comment down below if you want more videos on this, if this is something that you are interested in. Without further ado, see you in the next one.